So this is going to be video number 1 of exercise 7 in chapter 4 of the Advanced GIS textbook. In this video series, we're going to look at doing remote sensing geologic mapping using principal component analysis and band ratios in Landsat. And so in this first video, we're just going to download the data from Earth Explorer, the Landsat data, and then load it into ArcGIS Pro and talk about how we can clip Landsat and get it ready to do our kind of band ratio analyses. Okay, so yeah, getting Landsat data. In the video example I'm going to show you, we're going to map the geologic difference in this Black Rock Desert in central Utah, which has a series of quaternary volcanoes and tertiary volcanoes, as well as, interesting basin and range geology. So in Earth Explorer, you can get various data, but we're after Landsat, and we're going to download the analysis ready data. We're going to get a recent scene. To select the area that we want, we can just use the map coordinates, which is right there. If you know that you want to, kind of zoom in a bit more, be sure you've got what you want. You can adjust those, and then you can click results. And then you can navigate around to see if you've got what you want. I'll go back in time. It's now December when I'm doing this video. Might want to get something without snow, without a lot of vegetation, since we're trying to map soils and geology. So it might go towards like the end of the summer. So around about here. And then you want to pick something without many clouds. Go back even further. And then if I click on one of these and see what I got, oh, this is not the right area. I can see that's the San Rafael Swell. But yeah, this is the right area. I can see those little volcanoes sticking out. Okay, so once you're sure you've got the scene that you want, you go ahead and click download. And to do the geologic band ratio analyses, you need to get the surface reflectance data. There could be potentially usefulness for doing temperature bundle as well, given that, there's some interesting color changes across these surfaces. You could come up with your own band ratios and work on that. But for the purpose of this video tutorial, I'm only downloading the surface reflectance. And you don't need band 1, you just need band 2 through 7. And so go ahead and download those and then load them into ArcGIS Pro. So I've already done that here. So download them to your folder that you're working in. They come as GeoTIFFs. And so I've not put them in the geodatabase. They're outside of the geodatabase. And I've loaded them all in. They've calculated their statistics and built pyramids. I've also loaded in a geologic map in the area that we'll be able to compare our results to later on. And so as we're now getting ready to basically try to clip this data set a bit, we could think about where we're going to do our analyses. So the geologic map is kind of in this part of the scene for Landsat. And so we want to get all these volcanoes. But there's also some other things that aren't geological in here. We have agricultural areas, and we have some higher mountains that probably has some vegetation. Although it is pretty semi-arid, you might see through some of the geology there. And so I'm gonna say let's make a clipping mask, and then we'll clip all these data sets to that same masked area. So we can go into geoprocessing, and it's called clip raster, or raster clip. Let's see if I can remember, clip raster. And in here, we can make a little polygon now. So just for entertainment purposes, I kind of want to see what this Sevier Lake looks like. It's outside of that geologic map area. Also, these mountain ranges here don't seem to have a lot of vegetation. So I'm going to clip kind of like this. So I'm going to go to the southern part of this valley. I'm going to go along the edge of this valley. I'm going to get this mountain range right here, and then all the way up to here and over like that. So we'll clip it a little bit, but not a lot. Make the process a little bit quicker. It'll also focus kind of our analyses. So when we end up doing our principal component analyses later, what we're looking at in the relationships is all going to be relative. And so if we have a more focused analysis, it might get a better result. And so if you're trying to do this sort of geologic mapping, you probably wouldn't do a whole Landsat scene, especially if you have a lot of area that's more vegetation and less rocks. So I made my clipping polygon. Now I'm actually going to back out because we can batch clip this. Okay, so now I'm going to right click and say batch, and I'm going to choose a batch parameter, which is the input raster, and I'm going to go ahead and click next. So the output extent is going to be the clip raster, and I want to use that geometry for the clip. So I want to have it kind of be like a cookie cutter. And then I'm going to input all of these rasters, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, bands 6 and 7. And I'm just gonna, it's a little unfortunate. So we're just gonna call it percent name. I wish I could, I don't know exactly how to do it, but it seems like it'd be nice to trim this a little bit. But I'm not sure how to do that because the Landsat scene is named so long, but it has a lot of metadata in there. So it's all right. Let's just call it clip afterwards. So band 3 clip, etc. And yeah, so these presumably are in latitude and longitude. I could go about turning these into UTM coordinates, but I don't think that's necessary for anything I'm doing here. We'll leave it in geographic coordinate systems for this activity. Let's go ahead and run that. And yeah, so it should process through all those pretty quickly, clip them down to that same area, and give them new names. At which point I can kind of remove the older files and then proceed to do the kind of band ratio analyses on the clipped rasters. And so let's just see that that happens. And if so, we'll move on to video number 2, which is to do the band ratios. But let's just make sure this finishes up. Yeah, and I'm popping up in here. And let's turn off that clip, and you can see, yeah, there's one sitting on top of the bigger ones. And the brightness changed, and that's because the area of the scene changed, um, and so as it's stretched across different pixel values, that's some sort of histogram stretch is the same, but then it's over less total range of values because we're looking at a more focused area, and so the colors changed. And using that same sort of rationale is why we are doing this clip, because we'll be able to focus our band ratio analysis and our principal component analysis. Okay, so that's video 1. And so I'll stop this video and we'll move on to video 2.